exactly where we are. I can highlight and all of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
dang
I
it, we're
know you're on
online.
a computer, but you're also on location. I was going to take over some of
Uh,
the
no, no, no. Go ahead, go ahead.
handling on
I'll just
this.
relax on the. Oh wait, I was gonna like let me relax on the beach. I'm not at the beach. Although, if you want though, during this live stream, I can technically take you to the beach and show you what Maui looks like. Sorry,
Nah, it's
it's
fine.
like
Here, I will click on this comment from David Burns. Let's go. See, I'm totally doing my job as a producer. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Best of Our Week, where two old tech nerds share the
oh my
best
god.
tech of their week. And last week, we pulled off what I thought was a pretty solid on location stream. This
Oh yeah, that's
week,
right.
tkbay on location. We're making we're taking the show on the road. The show is now a
uh,
traveling show.
I,
No more smartphones and tablets and computers. We're going to talk about hotels and room service and amenities and how to get the most out of your frequent flyer miles. I'm Juan Carlos Bagnell
absolutely.
at Some Gadget Guy. As always, joined by my buddy, my brother from another mother,
Mother,
Mr.
mother.
TK Bay. And
Good morning.
where might you be? Because right now, on the video feed, I
I
can't see any discerning landmarks behind you. It's a
I'm
total
trying
mystery where
to.
you could be.
I'm totally off location. No, on location somewhere outside of the continental U.S. And I don't know why I just did the Princess Leia hair over here. I just need to put the headset back on because I was like,
Hey,
why did
there
I
you
do?
go.
Like, yeah, yeah. Well, it was because you
Got
could
some
see some
cinnamon
things
buns
here.
going on there.
Absolutely. I am at the Qualcomm Tech Summit of 2022 here in Maui. Um, Surprisingly, it was the week after the MediaTek event that Juan and I had a chance
Hmm.
to hang out there.
Maybe not too surprisingly, given the competition in the semiconductor industry. I think that might
Surprisingly,
have
because
been
they're like,
by design.
it was moved. Yeah. So typically we have the summit a week after the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday. So this year we're a week before. But I will say this: there was a lot of announcements done. There was a lot of updates done. There was a lot of talk about future tech. And surprisingly, which is really one of the things I really enjoyed the most, is so the Surface Pro 9 5G that Juan and I have the opportunity to be able to test out, that I'm actually on right now, and Juan is holding, of course, up for us, is powering my connection to the internet using 5G
Yeah.
connectivity. So I am not only am I remote, I'm flat out remote as if I'm using
You're
my phone,
on the
but I'm on a
5Gs.
see. I'm the G's, my friend. I'm so much in the G's. It's like I'm gonna stop right now. I was gonna go into it. Yeah. So long story short, it's still technically one of the best solutions that they had, and they demonstrated it on stage. So I was really excited to see, a piece of tech that I currently have in my hand still being kind of like the relative conversation. So the microphones that
Yeah.
you're hearing me on are from the Surface Pro. I'm not using the Surface headphones. I'm only using these for
Nice.
sound because I don't want everybody here hearing Juan shout at me. Yeah, because it would look bad on me.
I turned my mic volume down. So again, also, for every podcast that we do, if there's a level check that you guys like you're hearing something funky, just let us know.
Oh,
So
if you
I'm
don't hear me
really
clearly, then
excited.
please, that's what. Yeah.
This has been kind of a change for me over the last couple years. Like I used to care about the
Yeah.
components in our phones and tablets and computers and stuff. I used to build my own PCs, but
Yeah.
specifically over the last 2 years, I've been getting deeper and deeper in the weeds on what's going on in the semiconductor industry. And so going from MediaTek last week to Qualcomm this week, these are the two titans of
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
mobility
yeah.
and mobile communications. We've got a whole list of things here, and I don't want to
Yeah,
keep
there's
you
a
too
lot.
long on
No,
this
no, no.
kind of remote
It's bright
connection.
and early for
Um,
me. Yeah. We'll see how
but
long
I
we
mean,
last.
we've all been kind of keeping up with the news. Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. Is that where you want to start? Do we want to talk about phone SoCs and kind of go from there?
I think we could probably start off with the phone SoCs. I mean, this Gen 2 has been, I think, like been covered enough. I mean, a lot of people already kind of posted about it. There's a lot of aspects of it that we're going to dissect and talk a little bit, like the different
Hmm.
components, like Snapdragon sound, Snapdragon computing, obviously, and then we have also ray tracing, which is a big thing that we heard last week. So this is seems like it's the focus for mobile computing is to bring us
Yeah.
ray tracing from the PC. But when we talk about computers, like you were saying, I saw the video that you posted, talking, Tensor, 8 Gen 1, 9200. Where
Yeah.
are we now as far as the conversation? So I'll let you lead with that since this is, your little baby that kind of went on. But
For sure.
um,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, let me jump in there. I think from the end of 2020 to the end of 2022, we've been in a holding pattern where we've been realizing these enormous performance gains at the expense of thermals and battery life. And I think
Yeah,
that really came to a head at the beginning of 2022 with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1,
yeah,
not really performing up to a lot of enthusiast expectations. I mean, we're talking about some bold claims from Qualcomm and the handset manufacturers, and I feel that that was better realized with the 8 Plus Gen 1 in the second half of
absolutely.
the year, but far
Mhm.
fewer phones were released with that SoC. So when I look at the
Or even
landscape going
worse.
into, yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, when no,
so
when released, they're
so
so
few.
throttled. It's not even the
Right.
same experience.
Well,
Yeah, sorry.
except for, I mean, like we get like a standout. Like for every phone like that, there's a Xiaomi 12s Ultra that rocks
Yeah,
my socks. It's a legitimately good
absolutely.
performer. But getting
Yeah,
into 2023, we're going to kick off the first half of 2023 with a trio, a
hmm
legitimate trio in the international market where I don't think we've had this kind of strong competition on all three sides. Usually
no,
it's Qualcomm leading in this one way, MediaTek kind of playing in the mid-range, and then Exynos, sort of eating paste in the corner. I mean, it's been kind of lopsided. And so this is what's really making me excited for 2023. MediaTek is taking a slightly different, more forward-thinking approach to the Dimensity
absolutely.
9200.
hmm
Tensor is a more machine learning AI approach that is not winning in benchmarks, but is getting real work done. And now
Yeah,
Qualcomm has kind of a split approach. They're still maintaining some legacy support for 32-bit applications, but they're
hmm
also, I think, making some of the most aggressive claims based on the generational improvements from 8 Gen 1 to 8 Gen 2. So I'm just really curious, like what has been, obviously you're at the Qualcomm Summit, you're at their media event, so I'm sure that the energy is pretty positive, but
absolutely.
I'm sure there have also been some frank discussions about, hey, year over year, we keep getting these promises, but when the phone actually makes it into our hands, it's not really what that looks like. What if some of those conversations look like as you've been able to kind of poke around through some of these events?
So I will say I've had some candid conversations with some people over at Qualcomm during a closed session, which I'll be able to talk more on Monday about. I hate doing these things. This is one of the few events I go to where things have happened and I
Right.
can't talk
And
about
you
them to
can't
a
talk about
specific
them.
talk about them. So thank you
I'm
for
on
joining.
embargo.
Like, yeah, no. So no, I'll say this. The obviously yeah, this is Team Qualcomm. Everybody's very hyped about the 8 Gen 2. Obviously, it's a generational upgrade. The second generation TSMC, processor. No pun intended. The overall feel this year with Qualcomm is also kind of like leveraging a lot of all the other things around what the 8 Gen 2 can do, but also their other services. So we're talking compute, we're talking sound, we're talking gaming, we're talking connectivity, and also different kind of approaches. MediaTek focused heavily on Wi-Fi 7, although Qualcomm barely mentioned Wi-Fi 7, although it is in there. Obviously, we know it's there. I think the generational improvements that we see are incremental. It is substantial when we compare 8 Gen 1 to 8 Gen 2 because
Yeah.
of said TSMC involvement. And I think that's the biggest influence here. Better performance, lower thermals, and they're claiming really big numbers, about 45%
Yeah.
on the thermal savings. And that is music to my ears because to me, if I
Mm-hmm.
want to play on a phone for a certain amount of time, last thing I want is am I
Mm-hmm.
cooking breakfast at the same time? So
Well, we
I
both
will
use the
say,
Red Magic, and
no, absolutely.
you
Oh
got
my
to play
God,
on a
no.
controller with the Red Magic.
Controller or yeah, no. Especially if you're playing Undead Horde at 120 frames per second, you are cooking, my
Right.
friend. Even with a fan, it actually ran
Yeah.
hotter because it was pulling battery power
Cooling the
more.
SoC, but
Yeah, cooling the
so okay,
SoC, but
yeah,
it was
right,
like,
right.
yeah. So, but long story, kind of, yeah, summarizing it a little bit. Um, yeah, the excitement seemed to be a little bit more around the capabilities that we could do with the technology. I mean, there was a technology that I did a video on that referenced the ability of doing better face unlocking using a
Yeah.
specialized hardware that would work on the HN2, but even other generations. Uh, I think it's a closer race than that it's ever been. I think the reality at the end of the day, if we really look at it, I think if you pick up a Tensor, you pick up a MediaTek, an 89, 9200, or an HN2, I feel like the experience should be similar. From a user standpoint, we should not be able to tell, is this running this one, or this one? It's going to
Yeah.
come down to maybe sometimes capabilities that maybe are available on one over the other. I think Snapdragon Sound is a definite.
Well, didn't they
I want to
announce
say
a major partnership?
so.
Who was it that they
Bose
announced?
officially.
Bose. That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
So they finally on stage. They're like, "We finally got Bose," and I'm like,
Right.
"It's like when you're trying to go for your sweetheart, and you're like, hey, how you doing?' A few years later, hey, we're engaged." So Bose is on board officially, and they're supporting them, and they're gonna if you own the QC2s, I don't know if anybody in the chat has one. I don't have the Bose. As you can see, I have the Surface ones right now. They're going to be supporting Snapdragon Sound, and they're also going to be bringing in spatial. Hey, okay. We purposely, not
Sure.
purposely, accidentally, purely accidentally,
Accidentally,
he went with that one, and I went with this one.
Well,
Did not
I've
call
been
each other.
using the Surface, so I've been connecting my Surface to my Surface. Hey, I heard you like the Surface, so I put a Surface in your Surface. Sorry, that was a terrible joke.
Absolutely.
I completely vibe with your assessment, and it's the
Yeah.
it's the I'm giddy with anticipation looking into what phones are going to be doing next year.
Yeah.
We're talking about some extremely nuanced performance at very high tiers before I think we'll see where these chips differentiate. And it's
It's
not
absolutely. Yeah.
foregone conclusions. Again, it's app by app, not benchmark by benchmark. And what I showed in my
Mhm.
video was how the Pixel 7 Pro can absolutely murk an 8
Yep.
Plus Gen 1 in
GPU
LumaFusion. This is
power.
like the new
No.
it's the new exciting video editing app. It's from iOS. It's finally coming here to Android. It's
Yep.
desktop grade editing software. And if you followed the benchmarks, you would think that the Pixel was garbage. The 8 Plus Gen 1
Yeah, I know.
outperforms it in Geekbench by like 30%. I mean, it's not it's an insane performance delta between those two when you run a synthetic benchmark. And
Yeah.
the real world performance of LumaFusion is exactly the opposite. It's about a 30% performance advantage for the Pixel 7 Pro. And in fact, it's so good on the Pixel 7 Pro, it's out competing the iPhone 14 Pro. So this supposed like Apple dominance of silicon was really just marketing at this point. They can generate bigger benchmark scores, but the real world practicality, you've got to dig deep in the weeds to find individual specific apps and experiences that perform better on one of these chips. And that's
Yeah.
another part of the conversation for the people in our chat,
Hmm.
for the people that listen to our podcast. That's what I think is going to be fun. Do you
Yeah.
say you really care about gaming? I bet one of these chips is going to be better for gaming. Do you really care about productivity? I think one of these chips is going to end up rising to the top for work and for AI and for call management and for things like that. I mean, we really now have three distinct but
Hmm.
ultra competitive options where the pros and cons are going to matter for the people that really do specific things and have to achieve specific work on their phones.
And I think that's going to be like I said, it's where you start seeing outside of outside of, like I said, benchmarks aren't everything. We've said this for years, and the reality is
Benchmarks are
now
increasingly becoming nothing. I
no,
mean,
yeah,
when Qualcomm and MediaTek are talking about all of these AI capabilities, increasingly what makes your phone go faster is not going to be reflected in a traditional Antutu score.
yeah,
Again,
it measures different
you
things.
are
Exactly.
completely misrepresenting a Pixel if you only go by Geekbench.
Yeah,
It's not
no,
like, oh, well, maybe there's a little difference. It's that these scores increasingly do not predict real world performance and give you the wrong impression over what products perform better at individual tasks. And that's the big concern to me. Like, I was just in another chat, in another comment on my YouTube yesterday where I made that claim and I was like, hey, it does this, and Genshin is actually playing better on a Xiaomi 12T Pro than it is on an iPhone 14 Pro. And the person responds to me like, well, I'll believe that Android's caught up when I see some good benchmarks to verify that the performance is there. And you're like,
okay, well,
you completely
Android says
missed the
thank
point.
you. Yeah, no, I know. It's it it's I think when a comment like that shows up, it shows that the person is purely reading articles or conversations that are, I would say, tailored, not necessarily done in the manner that you're thinking they should have been. And then they're
Right.
basically saying, well, if I don't see the benchmark, I don't understand it. And the reality
Yeah.
like you said, LumaFusion is a good example, but there are also, like I said, general usage of the phone. The Pixel 7 Pro is an absolute beast. It runs, does everything that you needed. There's no limitation. The one thing I will say is when we start looking, like you said, when it comes to gaming, when it comes to performance, I think the one thing I loved about the fact of what Qualcomm was able to do is they brought partners with them. Okay, so Oppo went on stage and spoke for them and showed a demo on their ray tracing technology on their phones.
Yeah.
And I wished we were able to get some of that experience. Although we saw some examples at MediaTek, I think the experience, what we saw here essentially, is a little bit more. I feel like
Academic. Yeah.
okay, here's what happened when you're on the phone and you're mobile. You get calls and you get scams. No.
Oh no.
Yeah,
But
no.
Ricky is in our chat and he brings up a great
Oh, yeah.
point too, where another one of the
Sure.
partners they brought up on stage was Adobe. So
Yeah.
both the hardware and the software side, I think both camps are now, we finally, I think, crested a critical interest point where
Yeah.
consumers are amenable to stepping outside of their traditional computer models. Like, I need a
Yeah.
laptop with a Intel inside. And I don't mean to speak ill of Intel. I've done some great work with Intel in the past. But we need to see a diversification and we need to see different entry points on competition. And, we were just talking about LumaFusion. ARM processing doesn't get exciting if we don't have the software to back it up.
It
This
absolutely.
means hopefully we get DaVinci Resolve on an Android tablet in 2024.
I'm hoping that next year's announcement will be a little bit more forward there. They did mention, so I saw in one of the comments, obviously the biggest announcement in computing. They talked about Snapdragon, or basically the Orion processing power, the Orion chipset, I'm assuming. But it was such a quick announcement that we got nothing out of it except for we're bringing Orion, and then they walked off. It's exciting to see what they're able to do. I think the approach of mobile computing, Windows on ARM, I will say has never been as good as have had it here on the Surface Pro 9 5G. The the instant connectivity, the extended long battery on a flight leaving from
Yeah.
LA, working on it at the airport, working on it on the plane before it went off. Landed, I was on it, looking things up, working all the way through the next day, and I didn't kill the device. It's smartphone connectivity and functionality on a PC. It's really, like you said, it's software that's keeping us at this point from saying we're fully in. Adobe's doing great strides. I love the fact that they're coming in. I was able to, using Samsung Dex on PC, to run LumaFusion on my Surface Pro 9.
Mm-hmm.
Keyboard and mouse control on an editor on my PC.
Nice.
So there are things that you can do, and I apologize for banging it there. I think that's the biggest thing. So you're right. Yeah, it is. It's a weird. It's weird seeing how things are developing, but it's exciting when we see, especially when you have three companies coming at it. Right? You have MediaTek, Qualcomm, and Google now. For all intents and purposes, obviously Exynos, I think, is for the most part is done. There's really not much. They're not really trying to push Exynos anymore.
Yeah,
Samsung's focusing Qualcomm.
They're going to kind of dump a bunch of phones that I think are just backlog on fabricated chips that they already have in stock. And unfortunately, I think that's going to harm the reputation of the Galaxy A series because they're not great performers. And now they're going up against, still, even against a Snapdragon 765, but now they're also going up against Tensor 1. Like Samsung made a better chip for Google, even if it runs a little hot. That's going to be a better experience for many consumers on Tensor over a $400 Galaxy A series. It's. I think this is. I was chatting with Adam, Tech Odyssey, over Twitter, and all of these little nuances, all of these little differences, and yet we arrive at 2023 with maybe the strongest lineup. So I'm hoping what we see from Samsung is they need to take a year off. They need to focus on their fabrication. They need to focus on their nodes, improving their foundry. We've heard rumors that they're looking to dump like $10 billion over the next year into their fabrication and fab processing. That's not how you say that. Basically into improving their capabilities in their foundry. And I bet you coming into 2024, we see a new SoC from Samsung, which is probably going to be rebranded. It's not going to be an Exynos, but it's really an Exynos, but it's not.
It'll be the next. It'll be the next
Nexynos. The Nexynos.
It's the Nexynos. Come on, somebody at Samsung sitting there. What can we call the next one? Well, you just said it. It's the next one. So Nexynos.
We just gave Samsung $1 billion ad campaign right
yes,
there,
and you
I
can go ahead and
hate
use
that
it for
we'll
free.
never see a dime. So when you
No,
see a
it will
commercial for
not.
a Nexynos in a
Nexynos.
Galaxy, know that it came from us. We
It
did
is
that.
here on November 18, 2022 at 7:22 Hawaiian Standard Time, where the name
I
was
love it.
conceived in
I
there.
love it.
No, I think I agree with you. I think for the most part, even if Samsung does come back with its own SoC, I'm hoping that it kind of translates a little bit more also to Tensor, which next generation of
Oh
Tensor,
yeah.
what Google does. Samsung's in relationship with almost everybody. This is the weird way when you look at it. Samsung, obviously they announced their 200 megapixel camera support on their,
Hmm.
for, their, well, not announced, they announced their sensor. It wasn't the technology. Sorry. We
Sure.
have 200 megapixel cameras already. It's the
Hmm.
Samsung sensor that more than likely will be on the S23 Ultra. Like it was like reading like the spec sheet when they were announcing the stuff. I'm like, okay, so the S23 Ultra will have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. It's going to have Snapdragon sound. Like I'm reading all like it's already.
Hey
Quote
guys,
me on this thing.
spoilers.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah. Just jot this down. Write a couple of articles saying why this is the best thing, and then we're going to have a 200 megapixel camera by Samsung. It's going to have superior autofocusing, 12.5 megapixel bin pictures, and 50 megapixel, quad bin down to 12.5, and then I think just center bin to 50. But you know, so I'll say this: I'm excited to see this, but it's also kind of a weird, because we're talking only 8 Gen 2, right? We're not talking 7
Yeah.
series. We're not talking 7 Gen or 6 Gen. Still haven't seen a single 6 Gen or 7 Gen processor, or at least I haven't heard of one. We're still seeing primarily 7 series from 2 years ago being announced.
Yeah.
So I tried asking about that and I couldn't get any straight answers. They're like, at a later time, we'll be able to talk. So obviously, there'll be more
Yeah.
conversations around that. Uh, but looking also on mobile computing, the S3 and the S5 Gen 2 processors, bringing in spatial audio to lower price tiered earbuds. That's a
Yeah.
big move. Again, again, like I said, I'm excited for the 8 series. It's the star of the show. But when you start seeing all the other components that Qualcomm was talking about, that's what I got excited for. The better
Yeah.
security, the better sound, the better connectivity, longer battery life, all the good things. And we're seeing
And
that from
and
everybody.
we've
That's a good thing.
seen and we're seeing the surge because I don't think Qualcomm has faced this much direct consumer competition.
Yeah.
Right? We know MediaTek is dominated in like TVs, and MediaTek
Mhm.
actually outsells Qualcomm in sort of entry level and mid range phones, but
Mhm.
people don't know that they have a
Yeah.
MediaTek, and MediaTek has actually been stepping up to try and make their brand a bit more of
That's the
their
biggest thing.
end users' lives, because they obviously, when they talk to their customers, they mean manufacturers, and
Oh,
manufacturers
absolutely.
then send the products to consumers. I don't think Qualcomm has ever seen from all sides. So
Hmm.
there's audio competition. Samsung is a direct audio competitor now for
Yeah, they
Galaxy
went with their
Buds.
own codec. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like, we're not going to use
Right.
your aptX. We're going to go straight like
Yeah,
use
for
our
sure.
codec. Yeah, and I feel like
So
Samsung will reinvent ray tracing as well, but we'll talk about that later. We'll hear. We'll hear
isn't
how.
it? We're talking about Samsung like
I'm
Apple
making it
now.
sound like it's a Samsung. I'm sorry. I'm not
For
trying to
sure.
bag. I'm just
Look,
saying
Samsung totally
conversation.
invented high-res audio streaming. Sorry, what did you say, Sony? But,
Yeah.
like, it's this is exactly when I go off on my soapbox and I'm being an insufferable old nerd in my YouTube videos and I'm screaming into the void about why you do not want to let YouTube ratchet a
Mhm.
conversation where we have one big winner and maybe one competitor. It's because of stuff like this. 2023,
Mhm.
I think, is going to shape up to be a much more exciting year for us enthusiasts because we've got
Mhm.
multiple strong players in every phase of the industry.
Yeah.
Samsung's radios for 5G are getting better.
Yeah.
MediaTek, another wave of 5G radios for their mobile products. Chromebooks now have multiple options between x86 and ARM SoCs. Google coming back to the tablet game in a really strong
Oh
way
yeah.
and probably maybe
They'll be
finally
connected.
releasing a foldable
Hmm.
next year. We'll have to see. So without all these outside data points, Qualcomm would have been content to coast. If it's just
Yeah.
Qualcomm versus Apple, well, where else are you going to go? You're going to stay with Qualcomm. So we don't really
No, no.
need to do anything. But now if you have
Mhm.
Qualcomm, Google, Samsung, and MediaTek, well, now
Mhm.
Qualcomm has to do some stuff. So
Yeah.
this is a humongous win, and we can't let the YouTube conversation get boiled back down to, well, I mean, but like this is the obvious best, most popular choice. So that's the winner, because
Yeah.
that's what's going to hurt us in the long run is if we let people lazily describe this whole industry in that kind of
Mhm.
YouTube algorithm kind of way.
Yeah, and yeah, let's not get into the the algorithm and all. But I do want to touch one thing to kind of emphasize here, Ibrahim's comment. Yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
can't even forget the fact that BBK, as the sub brand of BBK, and we'll let it focus. I'm seeing myself, Juan.
No, no, you just keep talking. It'll eventually,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
so reflective. I
yeah.
don't think my camera's going to pull it
Absolutely.
off.
No, so like the co-processors, I will not. So the reality of the fact is this: I've been using the X70 Pro Plus to record and take all my B-roll this on this trip again.
Yeah, my
Great low light
man.
performance, great handheld camera experience. You
Hashtag
can't,
Vivo Gang.
so seriously, at the end, when we start looking at the capabilities and what we're seeing with our mobile devices, we have a lot of competition in the camera department. Processing
Mm-hmm.
power and leveraging the secondary NPU, the co-processors that we're talking, like BBK's been doing, Vivo's been doing it, Oppo's been doing it with the Mari Silicon X. They also, they're all Vivo. Speaking of that, Vivo and Oppo both are going to be some of the first companies to support. Oppo announced that the new Find X will support a Qualcomm HN2. Vivo is going to be jumping in. They talked to MediaTek with the Dimensity 9200. So those are the things that I think that's the exciting part. We're seeing some the 92. Okay, so this is the biggest thing for me. That one of the reasons why Juan is really
Yeah.
excited for next year. The 9200 is not going to be limited the way the 9000 was last year. It's not going to be. It's not going to be just primarily for China only. It's going to Europe. It's going to be internationally available. Maybe getting into the US via maybe a OnePlus or so on. But at the end, we're going to see more variations of this. And since Juan and I, luckily, were able to work with some of the European brands like Xiaomi and Realme and some of the other companies, hopefully we'll be able to actually get a real, honest to God, real
Yeah.
phone that actually runs it. And obviously Tensor's there. So that's the biggest thing that I can absolutely appreciate. And I want to see more devices that feature the IMX, was it the 989, the 1 inch sensor, or is it 9? I
Mm-hmm.
forget the name of
The
yeah,
Sony 989. And so we should
989.
be, the rumors are we'll be seeing that in a handful of other premium tier phones. The outside rumor is we might see that in a Sony Pro i2.
Ooh.
But I feel a bit more confident kind of leaning into some of the rumors on like an X90. It's a
Mhm.
perfect fit for a phone like the X90. So I'm hoping
Uh,
that we see that kind of transition happen.
yeah, no, absolutely. And so some of the other things, obviously, it wasn't just all pixel. I mean, not pixels. It was not all just HM1. um, the conversation around Snapdragon sound, and Qualcomm did it differently this year from previous years in the sessions. So we had the main keynote, which I think a lot of people were watching from like a streaming conversation, and they had like their own little tech talks or TED talks, I like to call them. Everybody was joking, but essentially it was
Mm-hmm.
like a focused subject conversation on a round table type of an experience, except the
Sure.
table was a stage and the presenter was in there. They cover Snapdragon sound, and I forget the name of the presenter. You worked with her on your sound.
Oh, right. I
Uh,
now you just put me on the spot, so I can't remember her
uh,
name at all.
so, no, I'm sorry. So they covered a few technologies, obviously Bluetooth LE, Bluetooth 5.3, but one of the things that really excited me was something that they called Auracast. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially a play on Miracast, but this is audio centric. And they drew this picture in my mind. It's not a reality yet. This is coming, and essentially is you walk into a bar, you walk into a gym or in an airport, and there are multiple screens playing different content, but they're all quiet. None of them are bombarding you with all that sound. And just simply that on your phone, you're able to pick whatever stream you want to listen to, and you tune into that display, you tune into this display, or if
Yeah.
you're at the gym, you can watch that TV that's across the hallway, but you're still listening to the audio. And it's kind of like that experience is, that's the vision that Qualcomm has when it comes to Snapdragon sound to get us to that level. They did talk obviously about adaptive not like that, adaptive spatial audio. They also talked
Sarah.
about basically.
Her
Thank
name
you.
is Sarah. Sarah?
Okay, you're much better than me. I don't remember the name. If I knew the name, I wouldn't be putting you on the spot.
Okay. I'm pretty sure
Okay,
it's Sarah McMurray.
I want to say
I think that
yes.
might be her name. I have
If
to go
anybody in
and
the
look
chat
up on
knows,
like my
correct.
own Snapdragon sound interview.
No, no,
But
no,
yeah,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah, yeah.
sorry. I just like my brain. I was listening to you. I really was. I was ingesting everything that you were saying, but my brain was locked in that search and destroy. What is her name? What is her name? What is her name? And if you, it's a bad, you
Sorry,
know,
I'm bad
I
with
go off
names.
on
I
like a
promise
Lewis
you.
Black stand-up comedy routine. Is I was about to give
Sorry,
myself
yeah.
a stroke. So okay,
Welcome back.
I'm better
Welcome back
now.
to the show. Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
breathe,
um, s-
woosah. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
This is another one of those interesting aspects of consumer electronics where the competition is what I care about. We also have to acknowledge that competition can make things a little bit more challenging for some consumers out there. And I think
because yeah,
audio is one of those technologies that while you improve and disrupt, you make it more confusing. Because now, if you've got a tensor, you can use aptX and LDAC, but you really don't
yep,
have support for aptX Adaptive or the newest
nope,
versions of Snapdragon Sound. I'm
yep,
playing with those JBL,
hmm
the earbuds from MediaTek. MediaTek is making a big play in wireless and Bluetooth audio, but
hmm
they're not using advanced codecs. They're using AAC. But their big thing is we can also provide like hyper low latency support through these proprietary dongles, which is really exciting. You can plug your earbuds into a game console or connect them
yep,
to your phone. So I mean,
hmm
all of these things now, like you've got OnePlus Buds, they had LHDC, and
yeah.
the OnePlus 10 didn't support LHDC when it launched. So if you
For
had
a
your OnePlus
while,
Buds with your
yeah, yeah,
OnePlus 10, it took a while. You needed to use your OnePlus Buds with a Xiaomi, and then you
yeah,
could
yeah.
support the best
It,
audio. So again, I like
it's also
seeing that Qualcomm is putting a
yeah,
branding on this. Snapdragon Sound helps a lot, but it's one of
yeah.
those things. It's like this market is wide open in a way that I don't think consumers fully understand.
And not only is it so, but we're also like you were exactly what you were saying. It's the proprietary codecs that we're starting to emerge now. Samsung finally jumps into the game. They're going in with their own codec, only works with Galaxy and
Yep.
Galaxy Buds.
Yeah,
Qualcomm's
I don't
jumping in
like
with
that.
aptX, and it's so, but that it is, yeah. So if you're in camp Qualcomm, it also it's not so the Qualcomm conversation for me is a little bit even more diverse. At least with Samsung, I'm not trying to give them credit. You know that if you're buying a Galaxy, you're getting a Galaxy Bud. You're going to get that experience.
Sure.
OnePlus sells their buds, and they don't sell them specifically for their own devices. They sell them to work with anything. Qualcomm's trying to do the Snapdragon Sound marriage between the two by certification, meaning companies have to certify their buds to qualify for Snapdragon Sound to have that
Yeah.
sticker. And they said that on stage. They said they send in the hardware, we certify it. So that process also that's going to increase the price of the buds. It's not going to make
Yep.
them, you know, what I mean, that's extra cost on the manufacturing. The S3, and what I really liked about though is when they said that they were going to talk about bringing this into the S3 series for Snapdragon quality. So slightly more mid-tier performance, hopefully maybe around the $100. I'm hoping they're able to keep it at around 100, or that will cost it go more. But again, it's a camp. You choose the camp that you like, and you stick with that camp, unless you want to go with something like what we have, like a Theo, or something like an
Yeah.
external DAC, like a Bold or a THX. And at that point, you're able to get even better quality because we're still talking wireless. All of these are talking right
Yeah.
now are wireless. They are. Oh, sorry. Qualcomm did say that they're trying to bring better audio for headphones. So basically spatial for headphones, not your earbuds. So that's the other technology. And then the lossless, they want to be able to bring it into more technologies, bringing it so that you have much more higher fidelity audio.
Sure.
The 44 kilohertz is basically CD quality wirelessly, true, clean.
Yeah.
Um, but they, to me, again, yeah, it's like you have to pick and you have to do more homework to figure out where you
I,
need to what you
I think
get so
this
that
is
you get the best
funny.
experience.
I think this is really funny. I think, kind of like how we talk about video technologies, and it's like,
Yeah,
well, you know, VHS versus Betamax, it was the adult entertainment industry that sort of settled that showdown. I feel like the great white whale in this fight is maybe going to be Microsoft,
okay.
where Windows kind of does a terrible job of supporting all of these flavors of different Bluetooth
Yeah, yeah.
audio components. And whatever Microsoft maybe starts leaning Windows into and working with their hardware manufacturing partners, their laptop partners, their desktop partners, that will probably sway a good chunk of the market. And again, if I've got a Snapdragon Sound sticker on
Mhm.
my new Asus gaming laptop, and I know I'll have that 80 millisecond latency on my Snapdragon Sound badged headphones, and then it auto switches to my Snapdragon sound phone. That becomes a compatibility ecosystem that I think benefits a lot of consumers out there, and I think that would really seriously motivate a lot of purchases, because that's even a crosstalk and a compatibility that Apple can't really quite fully create with their style of ecosystem. Again, like let's say I've got, a Snapdragon. I mean, this wouldn't happen because of AMD's relationship, but if you could get a Snapdragon sound partnership with a game console, and you
Hmm.
knew your earbuds or your headset would go from phone to PC to tablet to smartphone with all of the benefits of this certification, then, I see people throwing money at that as an audio solution.
No, absolutely. It is realistically what we all try. Every time we get a pair of buds, or I get a pair of buds, there's inevitably a comment saying, "How do they work on PC?" Because
Yeah.
we've converted it into that, right? Like right now,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
using my headphones with a PC. I'm not using them. I mean, I
Sure.
typically use them with my phone, but the clarity of the audio, the experience transitioning from one system to the other, the codec, the support of the quality of the music, especially if you use similar services like if you're using Amazon Qobuz or something like that, you're listening to high res audio. Switching over to the PC, and then you realize, oh, I'm not unmastered anymore. I'm not running on HD because the codec isn't there. I'm getting good audio,
Yeah.
but it's just not what I was getting on my mobile. And then
Yeah.
surprisingly, for some reason, I didn't realize we did not have a headphone jack on the Surface Pro 9 5D till I tried to
Nope.
plug it into it. And I was
Yep.
like, oh, like
Oh
you have
no.
to, like no, like it just obviously, so service works. It doesn't unfortunately sadly support USB-C audio because I would have loved to plug in USB-C straight in. Anything to bring
Yeah.
down the latency. And Qualcomm is making some strides at about 48 milliseconds when it comes down to latency for their aptX
Sure.
codec. But I honestly feel like what you were talking just a second ago with MediaTek, the dongle experience, and I know it sounds like we're going backwards, but true low latency experience will require something faster. BT is getting there. We are not there. There is still some, like in some areas when I'm using these, I'm watching the video and I see audio sync issues. I'm
Mhm.
like why? Why are we
And
there at this
pretty
time?
bad too.
Yeah, like so, but in
Yeah.
some other content I see, it works fine. Like right now, I'm listening to you, and the sound is synced to your picture. It's not like you're saying something
Sure.
and 20 seconds later. But yeah, I feel like the dongle. Like I tested. So I have the same buds, the JBL ones. Unfortunately, I
Hmm.
didn't bring them on this trip. But I used the VR from the VR P10 from Soundcore. They have a built-in dongle as well. Yeah, so these guys, and that's the only way I play on my Steam Deck with earbuds. It's just that's the only way. You gotta play. You plug this little
So
guy in.
right in
Does
the
that one have
case, we've
a?
got this
Yeah. No. Does it have
this
the
little.
pass through as well, or no pass through on that one?
No, mine doesn't have a pass through on it.
So that was the only thing I think the P10 that I really loved about it. It allowed
Yeah.
power pass through in, so that you never. But yeah, so you could see. Oops. This is how you break them, or at least try to break them. Juan is casually going to go get it. It's like we have solutions for the exact situation. So for true gamers, I think gamers are going to start looking towards
Yeah.
hardware solutions, and because gamers are always, they're
Well, this
keen to that.
this is what we wanted,
Yeah,
but it makes things more complicated, and it means that we need to spend that little bit of extra time explaining these differences. If true wireless audio is really going to survive in the market and start replacing what we use cabled audio and IEMs for,
yeah, yeah.
then you need to have all of those different solutions. You need to have all of those different flavors. Everything needs, I mean, you need to have multi drivers. You need to have low
Yeah.
latency options. You need to
Hmm.
have proprietary radio connections. Like, you need to have a broader marketplace of all those pieces. So, this is actually happening. We do want this. But if someone's a
Yeah.
gamer, they're not going to be happy with the Surface headphones. They're
No,
really not. Trying to
and
play
they're not
games
really.
like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
that's not a thing. But now, in these little JBLs or in some of like the Bluetooth earbuds that are now supporting some of this lower latency, you can kind of get away with that. But if you're really serious about that acoustic experience, you got to go proprietary dongle or cable. Well, now I have a pair of earbuds with respectably good ANC and a
Mhm.
proprietary dongle that is shockingly on point. Like, it's so immediate. It is
I will say that's the
clearly
one thing.
different than Bluetooth.
Yeah, but that was the thing about Soundcore. Their focus was heavily on the low latency, not as much as on ANC. So those don't have ANC, the VR ones. They're really originally they were originally meant for the Meta for the Quest 2 from Meta,
Yeah.
but it works obviously with any device that has audio output. I use it with my
Sure.
PlayStation. I use it with my Steam Deck. But I think at the end of the day, you again it goes back to you need to kind of research a little bit before picking up. There is no one stop shop when it comes to audio, and it
Yeah.
hasn't been for the longest time, even before we had the wireless experience. So what I see now, at least what I see coming into us at this point, is good technology, better technology, more capabilities. I think the casting to me was the most exciting feature
Yeah.
because I am one of those where people that go to the airport and there are like 1,000 things going on, so much noise. I
And
actually
I put on
seriously,
headphones just to block it. I'm not even listening to anything.
absolutely, I go with so when we go to the theme parks, we go to different places. It's not that I don't like listening to it. I just want to bring the
Yeah.
world down a few decibels.
Yeah, I got to take
I
the
put
edge
them in
off.
an yeah, I put them on ANC and I walk around and I'm able to have conversations normally. It doesn't disrupt the experience. But if we're able to experience that, I mean, obviously there's an adoption obviously from the manufacturers, the TV. How do you communicate to people walking in which
Sure.
stream this is and know all of that good stuff? But I think Bluetooth LE is opened up a few, especially broadcast functionality has been really nice. The ability of sharing content. We're watching a show on one phone, but we're able to share between three people listening to it.
Right.
That's really nice.
I saw that on a
So,
TCL and it never made it to a more mainstream. Like that's a killer feature for a tablet.
oh my God,
Every
yes.
tablet should have audio
Oh no,
sharing
no.
and
Or even a TV. Like build that into the
yeah.
TV
Oh, for
and
sure.
have, yeah. If half the family doesn't like listening to the other side watching a game, you turn on the game. You put the headphones. I mean, you can obviously hear the screaming people on
Right.
the couches, but it reduces the like wow, everybody jumping in. Long story is, it's exciting. Sound is doing really good. Snapdragon Connect also covered a lot of good conversations going on with just Fast Connect, the Wi-Fi 7. Again, this is how I felt like Qualcomm didn't really say too much Wi-Fi 7, and MediaTek said everything Wi-Fi 7. So it was like camp,
Yeah.
depending on where you went. But Fast Connect, faster connectivity with
Now,
Wi-Fi 7.
we had some really frank conversations with some folks at MediaTek talking about
Yeah.
the 5G. Was the tone similar at Qualcomm, where they're still trying to talk about 5G as if it will be the next big thing? Or are
It
they now
was.
trying to settle into a 5G is here and it's an accepted technology, even though so many people still don't really have it?
I think the way the sentiment here is a little bit different. It's more so we have 5G, we have good 5G. I mean, they brought Verizon and T-Mobile on stage to talk about their connectivity.
Right.
Even T-Mobile had their own little talk afterward at some point. I think they're more so trying to focus, like they covered some gaming experiences with 5G enabled options in there. We didn't have specifically 5G conversations. Like they weren't trying to shove 5G in every slide. If they wanted to kind of just like, oh, 5G, 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 it is where it is. We are there. I think to them, Qualcomm's brought it in. It's available. It's connected on almost every device. I don't think they have a SKU that comes out that it isn't 5G, with the exception of I think if they're going
Yeah.
into Huawei, then that is
Sure.
a special thing. So yeah, no, it's different. I think MediaTek's approach is a little bit different because MediaTek is in modems more that are not even on their own devices. Like we talked about them when we
Yeah.
were there. Remember, we had Intel on stage in that little roundtable or talk that we were in. They utilize MediaTek modems for their 5G connectivity on their PCs. So that is something that I feel like MediaTek is a little bit more forward with because that's their business model. It's not just in home with the
Hmm.
SoC, but it's also the other components like they're in gaming monitors with the with the controller that controls the variable bit rate, the variable refresh rate on your display. Didn't realize that was a MediaTek part.
Right.
All these things that you talk about, we learned so much. It's like you realize, like, oh my god, it was already there. That's the feeling I get with MediaTek. Qualcomm's trying to shift to the we're here, we have it, it's there, the technology's strong enough, we can do it,
Right.
but we're trying to push it more. But it's also about the battery life. I feel like they're starting to realize that battery life is an important component. So that's why from
Well,
an 8 Gen 1 Plus to an 8 Gen 2, it's not. I
right.
don't feel like we're going to be like, oh my god. I think you're pretty safe if you got the 8 Gen 1
So
Plus.
that's the last thing, and we
8
can
Plus
kind of
at one.
tie up our Qualcomm conversation here
Sure, sure.
is because when we were talking about those, you know how I love a good unlabeled bar graph in a media
Oh,
keynote
always.
or presentation.
Yeah.
They're always the best. But when Qualcomm was making their performance claims, and we heard some big ones, I mean, like in applied benchmarking and in gaming situations, they were talking about like what was it, a 35% uplift in CPU compute power and a 40% power reduction.
Those are
And
big
those
numbers, yeah.
numbers, well, again, I believe them in
But I
their
don't think
testing
it.
and how they. I don't think they're testing against the 8 Plus Gen 1. I think they're
I,
testing against the 8 Gen 1, and the 8
I
Plus Gen 1 was already roughly a 30% performance per watt improvement. So a 40% power reduction is not an extreme
yeah,
change to the
exactly.
8
No,
Plus. It's the reasonable change we should expect if we're comparing it against the 8 Gen 1, which could draw like over 8 watts of power at full CPU load.
and I think the sentiment this year is a little bit different than what it was last year. And I spoke to them regarding the battery, the performance, the thermals, and so on. They were more like, "Well, this is something that the OEMs need to focus." This year,
Yeah,
they brought
there's
it
a
dead
huge
center. They're
disconnect
talking
between Qualcomm
a
manufacturers and
comment,
end
what,
users.
yeah,
Huge,
and then
yeah.
they saw how it was basically handled and how things were basically kind of covered. I think that was the biggest thing for me. The focus on where they are this year is battery power, performance, low battery draw. Thermals were also another conversation that they had. But yeah, I think to be kind of like honestly fair, I don't think it's fair for us to compare the 8 Plus Gen 1 where I don't feel like there's a lot of devices that sold with that SoC. That's the other thing. It came so late at the end of the year, very few. No, I'm sorry. I'm
But it's the
specifically
goodest
covering.
one.
It's the better
But I
and the
have the
quicker.
goodest TK. This is the winner phone. I mean, we can all
It
just
is
go
the winner.
home. Only one can win.
They
There can
They
only
can be
be
only one. They can only be one.
one winner.
Come
Yeah.
on, Highlander, get. Let's get back at.
We
There we
are born to
go.
be kings. This podcast never
It's
gonna get
not,
monetized. I
yeah,
love it.
not even close.
Not even
I was gonna just say that
close.
now and just cut it out. But no. So
Oh,
here's the thing that I
Gary,
really
and to help us in our conversation, Gary gave us some unlabeled benchmarks. So I'm just going to leave these on the screen so that
so
you
you could
can
definitely see
see
that
the
the
good
power draws on
numbers.
the left.
Yeah,
No,
the
sorry, the
line going
performance is on the
up,
left.
performance
That's
on
the
the left, and
performance.
then line going down,
It's
and then the
power
comparison between the others.
consumption.
So
Yeah, and
that
then
you
the
have
red
all the
bar in the middle.
data pretty much right there. So yeah, good,
So
good,
yeah,
good.
as you can see, the charts don't lie.
Yeah,
It's
the
on the
numbers
chart.
don't lie. We just
The
won't tell
numbers
you
don't
what the
lie.
numbers are.
Yeah, no. But so with that being said, though, seriously, I think TSMC jumping into the game, I feel like has been for no again a game changer. But anyways,
Yeah,
it really brought in what we originally wanted Qualcomm to do, even if taking a year to kind of just figure things out. It makes
for sure.
sense for Samsung to try to figure out their process, the manufacturing process, because Samsung just at the time just did not care. I mean, there was no. I mean, they could have tried to improve things, and then obviously they lost the entire process over to TSMC in that. But what I would love to see at this point in reality, as far as performance, is again that sustainable performance, and hopefully when we see OEMs implement it, like the Xiaomi did great. We saw
Yeah,
the ROG Phone 6 with the Dimensity 9000 Plus.
did really well.
That was that's a beast. But that's what gaming phones do. When we start seeing flagships running these SoCs, we want to be able to see some of those experiences put in there. Oppo, did talk about that, but what I wanted to kind of talk at the last thing before we leave the SoC, it
Sure.
is crucial that companies don't try to, like, because when you set the whole experience, like, you have your headphones, you go to the game, you just switch over to your phone, you do all of that.
Yeah.
It's weird, like, but some OEMs like to reinvent things. Okay,
Yeah.
they take technology and they rebrand it, they change it, they put a little bit into it. So one of the biggest things that you will hear if you've ever been to an Unpacked, which I've been to a few, they never refer to Snapdragon. It's never, this is a Snapdragon processor. No, it's
So
a
we
Qualcomm
have the
processor.
most advanced 5
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
nanometer
But if
processor
they're
on the
going to refer to
market.
the manufacturer, it's referred to as the Qualcomm processor. Which one? It's the Qualcomm processor. It's the better, the gooder, the one that does everything.
Yeah.
So this is where I feel weird, like, because Samsung goes out of their way to brand things a little bit different, and that may confuse
Hmm.
people because they
Oh
don't know.
yeah.
And if you benchmark an A plus Gen 1, which is one of the reasons why I chose this device, non-plugged into power, you're getting below like 980 on Geekbench. I'm not saying it's a good number. I'm just saying that it is so flat out throttled. They're so worried
Yeah.
about the phone to warm up that they're bringing it down to pre 865 numbers, just
Yeah.
so that, I mean, and you wouldn't notice it except for when you try to do like heavy lifting and you're trying to render and so on.
Which is kind of
But
the point of having a mini tablet in your pocket, is that you
yeah,
might want
like
to do more
when you
with
want
it.
to run LumaFusion, I bought LumaFusion to run on this. It runs and it works great. I connected to my PC just to be able to get a bigger canvas. But at the end of the day, yeah, we need to be more mobile. You need to be able to create content. Again, I shoot the X70 Pro Plus. I edit, I produce, I upload from there, because that's how comfortable I am with that medium.
Yeah.
It's there. But we gotta have a consistency in naming so that we don't like it's purposely confusing people. So that was what I
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
to leave with. It's like we need naming conventions. We need to be better, and I
Well,
think
and
yeah,
what we've seen from the Galaxy S10 era on is Samsung buying a certain market position through enormous advertising
oh yeah,
spends.
yeah, yeah. I think they bought
Consumers,
AKG at some point, and now everything is
well,
AKG.
I mean, like
Yeah,
in terms of acquisitions, sure, but I mean, like following the Note 7, that was like 10 to 12 billion dollars a year in marketing, right?
yeah.
Samsung went hard. It's only over this last year that they walked it back. I think now they're
Mm.
only at like $2 to $3 billion a year for marketing. And at the same
Yeah, yeah.
time, they've set these expectations. Consumers equate Samsung with Android. I
Yeah.
don't believe the S21 or S22 got the job done. And now consumers have this because of the way that you're talking about. There's no understanding of what goes on in your Magic device. And I can't blame consumers for that because that's a function of marketing. So
Yeah.
now they've tried the bestest Android. I might as well just go and try an iPhone next. And then I won't be bullied for my text message color. Like we're going to lose that fight if we allow algorithm-based reviewing and marketing from major corporations like Samsung to just be the only educational resources available to consumers. But that's a rant for one of my Monday morning shows,
That'll be back for you on Monday morning on the
right?
SGTQA on. Also broadcasted on this channel as well for YouTube if
Yeah,
you'd
for
like to
sure.
follow and
On
subscribe to
Best
the
of Our
best of
Week.
our week. Absolutely. And coincidentally, yeah, I am still co streaming on.
Mm-hmm.
I am like on the coattails of the best of our week with the Android Bay because I don't want to skip a week. I
Sure.
just um, we're
There's a
literally here
lot
one
going
more
on,
day.
and we're
No,
getting into the holidays, so
there's a lot. Yeah, absolutely. And oh yeah, dang man, next week. Thanksgiving is next week.
yeah.
Our show
And
lands on
and
Thanksgiving.
we won't have Twitter apparently to share all
So
of this
yeah, so
news with
okay,
you
so
fine
what
folks because
happened there,
apparently
dude?
it's
Okay,
crashing and burning.
I go busy for one day with Qualcomm.
I
Did
know
you
you
pull the
left
did Elon,
you left the
so
West Coast. You left the Pacific time
like
zone for
what
one
happened?
day and then the whole thing cratered. Basically, and I think everyone in the chat would agree with me on this. Basically you screwed us, TK. All right.
I'm
So
s-
this is all on
I'm
you, and
I'm
I feel you owe
sorry.
everybody in this chat a sincere, heartfelt YouTube. Let me sigh and do a headache thumbnail, and then
Hold on.
sort of an unemotionally, a non-emotionally attached apology. I feel like everybody really deserves that from
I will
your
say
transgressions.
I
No,
didn't
you
do
start
it
with a deep
on
sigh,
purpose. Uh,
and then you do a
I
quick cut because you have to like get your script ready for the next thing that you're gonna say, and then you go, hey guys, this one's gonna be really tough,
yeah,
and
yeah, it's gonna be very tough.
I didn't want to have to make a video like this.
Remember those something? I don't like. Yeah, it's always on YouTube. Like I didn't see this coming, and it was
Yeah,
hard.
Barry
I
Johnson,
had
TK, how could you leave us? It's
yeah.
Barry. I mean, come
I
on.
It was a
So
tough
so no,
decision.
I mean,
It was a really tough decision.
I had to pick
Go
a
cover a
social
show
media
or keep
service to
Twitter.
kill. I threw a dartboard. I threw a dart at a
I
dartboard.
so
Twitter
last night
landed.
I
It's
was
it's all
trying to get
going
the show
down.
ready and everything, and I go over to Twitter and everybody hashtag RIP Twitter. I'm like, what happened? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, did Elon put the plug or what? Did he just find the master button? He's like,
No, he kind of did, but it wasn't anything as dramatic as like what the tweets were. At this point, we have
is
a
it true though
functional
that
website.
yeah, I was gonna
Oh,
say,
go ahead.
did Twitter HQ actually close for the day?
Oh yeah.
Was that okay? So that
Not
was
Twitter
true.
HQ. All of the Twitter campuses are locked down. So many people have committed to
Uh,
leaving the company and the organization at this point because of Elon Musk's boneheadedness and his like, I want to break and disrupt things, and no one at Twitter wanted to break what they'd built.
in this,
So he put out
oh
an
my god.
ultimatum this week saying, hey, you can
Okay.
either commit, like a pure loyalty test. He has not
Yeah.
described a plan. He has not described a future vision for Twitter. He's not given them any assurances as to what the path moving forward is. It's all just
Yeah.
been this blind ego. I'm going to fix it. And so you need to commit to me and show your loyalty. And I'm going to say, we're going back to hardcore startup mode. You're going to be working like 12-hour
12-hour
to
days.
20-hour days. You're going to be in the office this whole time. You're never going to see your family ever again. Or we'll give you a 3-month severance. So
That's
everyone
firing
like, yeah, I'll
everybody.
take 3 months
Yeah,
off.
it was ever.
I'm
Yeah,
gone.
no. Oh my God, I hate that when people give
So
you an
so so
ultimatum and
if
it's not
everybody,
really. Yeah.
and I don't believe the numbers are going to bear out completely like this, because again, Elon did try to backpedal and try to walk some of it back. But right now, from where we were a month ago, where Twitter, I
Yeah.
believe, was capping somewhere around 7,500 employees, in less than a month, if these numbers bear out, in less than a month, Elon Musk will have fired or driven away 88% of the Twitter workforce by the time all the dust settles. In less than a month, he is removed. Like, internal reports are saying they don't have a payroll service anymore. The people responsible for paying employees all took the offer to leave, and they don't even have people to verify like badge entry in some of their
Oh my
locations. So even
God,
if you
this is so
could go into
crazy.
the office, none of
Okay.
those systems work. I'm starting to see some of the instability on Twitter. So one of my favorite features of Twitter was if someone's just being a jerk, I could mute
Yeah.
them.
Hmm.
Not, and like, I don't like stirring up the I blocked you, because then that makes them feel like they won. Look, oh, I
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
under his skin so much that he blocked me. But I loved muting because it was a quiet, like, I just don't want to see your crap anymore, and I don't need this to be a further exchange where other people are going to get involved sharing screenshots of me blocking you. Muting doesn't work on my account anymore. So all of the accounts that I muted in the past, and when I try to mute someone now that says they're muted, their shit still shows up in all of my feed, in all of my timeline. It's all of these little, cracks and this attrition and this, sort of degrading is what's
All
going
right.
to
Yes.
bring Twitter down.
No. I. Okay. Crap. Okay. So yeah, I'll say that again. I'm sorry. Um, I don't know. Like,
What did you do?
I just took one flight. I'm not even outside of the U.S. I'm actually in technically
It
the
was
U.S.
it was totally fine while we were in Sonoma because we were
Like
still in
how
the
in the
Pacific
new?
time zone. We were hanging out
Oh,
together.
please
Twitter was
for
still
the.
functional.
And then I just go take a flight a little bit east, a little bit
So yeah.
smidgen to the
So
left.
so so here's the
Yeah.
frustrating thing is because a number of our brethren and some really good friends of ours have been posting on
Yeah. Yeah.
Twitter like her, isn't it so funny? People are talking about Twitter dying on Twitter. Geez, guys, way to fail. And you're like,
Uh,
you're an
we're
idiot
supposed
if that's
we're supposed
your
to go to
your big
Instagram. Yeah, I'm
hot
supposed to
take
go to
or
Instagram and
something.
complain about Twitter because
And Elon Musk has been stirring it up like, haha, Twitter usage has never been higher. And it's like, yeah, because everyone's here to see the train wreck, not because you're really keeping
yeah, you're
engaged
not
new
doing.
users.
Yeah,
They
your
all want to
engagement
see
is
the
the
world
wrong
burn.
engagement.
So the
I
thing is, I woke up this morning and it wasn't that
Yeah.
we couldn't go to twitter.com. There is a twitter.com that exists and is technically functional. It's not
Yeah.
enough to have a functional website on the internet. All of the confidence in the platform, all of the faith that they'll iterate, that they'll improve, that they'll fix problems, that they'll
Mhm.
address issues in communication, that they'll have a team of people that can root out and weed out disinformation. Everything
Yeah.
that made Twitter a functional citizen journalism service before has completely crumbled. There is no faith in the platform. There is zero faith in the leadership. He has become the butt of every joke in Silicon Valley and across the tech sphere. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to use Twitter. I'm not going to rely on it. I'm not going to put effort into it. Twitter is practically dead, even though twitter.com remains somewhat functional. And right now, I don't believe they have a team. If there was a concerted attack, some denial of service attack, some type of
Mhm.
information stealing attack, they don't
Or
have the
information,
capabilities.
false information
Well,
posting.
I mean, right
Validating.
now is the perfect time for someone to try and steal a ton of user data. they do not have the people in place to really safeguard the systems that protect your private information. If you've ever
Yeah.
put money into Twitter, or if you've ever done like ads on Twitter, if there's
If
financial
you
stuff
just
you've ever
started
done with
paying
Twitter,
$8 a month for a check mark on Twitter, but yeah, I'm sorry.
now would be the perfect time for someone to come around and rip off all of your information, because I don't believe they've got the capabilities to stop a concerted attack on their infrastructure. That's what we're
Wow.
really talking about. Twitter,
Yeah.
we shouldn't be trusting Twitter for anything right now, because all we see is grotesque instability in leadership and freakish instability in workforce. This could be a terrible and tragic recipe for a lot of people to get hurt,
Yeah.
both in just terms of like, hey, my private information was stolen and now someone, ripped off my identity, but also for all of the people around the world that have used Twitter as a way to combat oppressive regimes. That information is now going to be much more accessible if they face a massive site-wide compromising event.
It's dang, man. I mean, that
It's
is
real bad.
okay. So it is real, like it's real bad. It's not just a trending. It's scary. It's scary to see. Oh
Yeah.
my God. And the fact that it became such a big part of our discourse, like a lot of conversations have been had there. And it is typically the place you go to when everything else kind of crashes and doesn't work. You go to Twitter to complain about it. And it was kind of like,
Yeah.
I understand the punt of why you're complaining about Twitter on Twitter, but to go from buying a company to trying to joke about, let it sink in to just literally, flushing it down the drain. Um, it's just, oh my God. So I guess I'm going to go with Gary. I'm going to set up my Mastodon account tonight or
Yeah.
today. Actually,
I I
we'll be on
I,
the.
I am terrible at Mastodon. I have no idea how to use it well. Today's Follow Friday, so I'm going through the Follow Friday links to try and find some people to follow.
So as you're
But
saying this,
yeah,
I'm going to be downloading Mastodon right now.
hold on. Let me. I don't even know how to properly share. So I'm mastodon.sdf.org/@somegadgetguy. But in most Mastodon services and clients, if you search for @somegadgetguy, you should be able to find me.
I
It's
will
really
have.
interesting. It feels like an earlier incarnation of Twitter if it had been decentralized. So you have individual
Okay.
servers that are kind of like Discord servers. So
Oh yeah.
you set up your account, but your username is persistent across multiple servers. So it feels like kind of the love child of Discord in Twitter. And so no one server can ever be completely occupied or monopolized or monetized in a specific way. But I picked a
So
server
how
that
do you know which?
I
Yeah.
I chose one that had a good user base, and when I was looking through just some of the conversation about different Mastodon servers, it seemed to be a decently reputable server with people that I wasn't gonna hate on that
Is it the
server.
tech one? Is it
So
under the tech influence section, or I guess I'll have to. I need to do more research. I didn't realize Mastodon had
yeah,
so
I
many
mean,
servers.
this is what sucks about Mastodon is you kind
Like,
of need to dig in a little more.
of course,
Yeah,
blurring because it's not my face. Yeah, sorry.
right.
Either way,
But
okay.
so
We'll
far,
talk more in
I,
Mastodon. Yeah.
I'm super early. Like I'm only following 10 people right now, and I'm just going through the main timelines on specific topics.
Hmm.
There's not a huge Android fan base on Mastodon. We could create that. We could start building that and having those kinds of conversations that we used to have on Twitter on Mastodon.
Tech.
And once you kind of get over that idea of segmented servers, it actually makes a lot of sense for how we do microblogging and how
Mhm.
we rely on those type of sites for microblogging. So right now it's refreshing. It's a nice change of pace. It's different. It's fun. I need to see what I can do for verification.
Mhm.
Because it's different servers. You can't verify someone like you can on Twitter. But there are some other tricks that you can pull off for verifying websites, and I have a website, so I'm going to do that. And then from there, just find some groups, find some people that
Get
are gonna can
conversation
nerd
going
out
on.
with,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
I'm just signing
it's
up right
nice.
now just to kind of get the. Oh, here it
It's just
is.
kind
Yeah,
of
exchange.
shrinking things down, and it feels like a better version of Web 2.0 than
Hmm.
what Twitter had become. So even before Elon Musk and the way that Twitter was trying to monetize, that was never going to be great. Web
Yeah.
2.0 was never really sustainable, and let's make something cool and then let's figure out how to monetize it. Here
Yeah.
on Mastodon, if you land in one server and you like how that server operates, I'm going to be supporting that server like I do contributions to Wikipedia or archive.org.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm good with that. I feel like that's a much healthier way just to kind of keep some servers running, and I don't have to worry about as much in my face advertising or selling off of user data. And if the server ever
Every
changes its
third
business
tweet is an
practice,
ad. Yeah. Sorry.
oh, even worse now because so many advertisers have pulled from Twitter. I'm
Oh
getting
wait.
the stupidest mall ninja bullcrap in my Twitter feed right now. I've got this one ad that just keeps popping up. It's a
It's,
collapsible baton. It's like a daredevil baton. And it's this guy, like, I can even break an aluminum baseball bat with my collapsible baton. And you're like, that's who's advertising on Twitter now. Twitter is not Fetch. Fetch is never going to happen.
oh my God. Hold
Like,
on.
this is
Let me see
really
the
bad
ads.
if that's who's advertising on Twitter.
I'm not seeing. Hold on a sec. I'm not actually seeing ads. Hold on.
But
Oh,
but
this is.
if
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if
I
if
want
a
to see that
server
baton.
on
Sorry.
Mastodon starts pulling some crap, you can move to another Mastodon server. You can take
Yeah.
your account from one server, pull that data, and recreate your account on another server, and your username should follow you. This stuff is complicated. It's not as easy as Twitter, but I like this vibe a lot better. It borrows some good ideas from Reddit. It
Hmm.
kind of was ahead of some good ideas from Discord, and
Yeah.
it's starting to replicate what I liked about Twitter style conversations. And they're not focused on weird things. If I want to go and have an audio conversation, I can fire up my Clubhouse account again. I'm not going to miss Twitter Spaces. It really wasn't a big hook for me. And now I've got a social media site free of advertising with a good amount of modularity that I can control. And
Hmm.
I even have longer posts. You have 500 characters that you can play with on Mastodon. So it's twice as good as Twitter. So
Oh my God, the challenges
it's
of.
really
I
solid.
remember when we had a more constrictive Twitter, and then we went up to 250, and now 250 is not even. It's still not enough. But no, I'm with you. I need to do a little bit more research on Mastodon. I'll be honest. The extent of me just logging in right now and choosing the first tech server that I saw just to catch the tkbay account,
Yeah.
just to get that kind of going in there. But the
But also be patient because I believe over the last week they've gotten an influx of over 6 million new users, and these
yeah.
are all publicly funded little servers that I'll log into Mastodon and you can tell, oh, the hamster is running overtime trying
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
get
No,
these
it.
Mastodon posts out.
I think the overall sentiment for me right now is wow. Like seriously, it's a shock on how things can go from
Yeah.
established to trash in like literally. And I'm not calling Twitter trash. I'm just saying the experience of where we are. And surprisingly, if I'm not mistaken, I think even Tesla's starting to get hit because it's association with Elon. So like even Tesla
Tesla
shares are
is
starting.
down 8% this
Yeah,
morning,
and it's
something
not
like that.
because it's not the car. It's the association with
Uh-uh.
the founder.
Yeah.
So I would
And I
I would
feel
be even
SpaceX
surprised
is
if
probably
SpaceX.
going to be in
I was
line.
about to say yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's literally like domino effect because now like Twitter hits and then it get everything.
And see,
But
Elon Musk can't rely on taxpayer funds for Twitter.
yeah,
Again, there's going to be a big boon for Tesla because I believe California DOT is going to be electrifying some of their fleet and they're going to buy a bunch of Teslas. So Elon Musk gets to benefit from taxpayer dollars, even though he hates paying taxes. Taxes are so mean. I'm moving to Texas. Wah, I'm
I was
Elon.
about to say he sells the cars to
Then,
California and then he goes to Texas. Yeah,
then SpaceX only exists because of government contracts. That means money from our taxes goes to the government. The government says, hey, we need rockets that can send things into space. So, what does Elon Musk do? He starts doing Twitter advertising buyouts. There's a tier of Twitter advertising called the Twitter Takeover, and it's
okay,
roughly $250,000 or $300,000 of advertising a day. And so SpaceX money is going into Twitter advertising at the takeover level, which means our tax dollars are
Bears are
going into
feeding.
SpaceX, getting funneled over to Twitter just to kind of help float Twitter and make it look like they're still
Oh
making
my
money on ads.
God.
It
Oh,
is such a shell game, and he needs ruthless regulatory examination at this point. I don't want my money that should be going to rockets and keeping rocket travel safe going into floating an egocentric narcissist's bad business deal with Saudi investors on a social media platform. That is not a good
yeah.
use of my tax dollars.
No, yeah. No. Oh man. Okay. This is. Okay.
It's real bad. He
It's
should
almost like
not
saying
have this much
we're gonna take
ability
a week
to, on a
to
whim, affect so many industries, so many people, and literally he can destabilize governments with a platform like this.
well, not just governments, but people that rely for the ability to speak
Yes.
against said governments.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is okay. This
Yeah.
is massive.
Michael Corcoran, again, nobody gets more welfare from the US government than Elon Musk. He is the
He's
ultimate
on.
welfare Karen. He is at the top of the
Picked the right.
list.
He picked the right account. He picked the right account. I'm seeing. I don't know if you know Techspert, the UK creator. I'm
Yeah.
just watching him go down to get breakfast right now.
Go
It's
say,
funny.
hey, we were hanging out with
He's
him in Sonoma.
no, I know. But he literally, like, as I was seeing him, he was like
Just give
going
him a
into the
wave.
section.
Just say, hey.
I would have to scream over everybody else. I don't.
Oh,
So
okay,
the
okay, okay.
problem is
We
the.
can't tell because you are in a bokeh blur of
I gotta. Okay, hold on. And the thing is, the bokeh's done on device. This is not
yeah,
StreamYard. I'm
yeah.
not doing it. This is purely the Surface doing. It's supposed to do its thing. Although the audio didn't seem to turn on because I wanted it to be super hyper focused, like as if I'm in a room.
Right.
But in reality, I'm actually in. So
I've
let me
been
see here. If I get out
enjoying
of
the bird
frame,
call. I think that's been delightful.
nope, it doesn't. It bokehs
Nope.
everything. Dang it. Okay.
No,
Let me
it's
see if I
okay.
can
The
see.
bouquet is unescapable. So
It is. It is. Hold on. Video general. No, actually, it would be under camera. It wouldn't be somewhere else. So Surface front camera. No,
doing
I
it
don't even have an
live.
option. I'm trying to get the bokeh off. Okay, hold on. Settings. Oh, you know what? Maybe it is in the camera app. Let me see here. Are you guys seeing the back of the table yet, or no? See.
Ooh, I I I just heard some garbled audio. I don't know if
Yeah,
yeah, everything
I think
just
it's
went
because I turned on the
choppy
camera.
on my side.
Problem. Sorry. Auto flicker detach. No. Okay. Sorry. I opened up the camera app. My mistake. I apparently hit the limit. I don't know if I'm back. Am I back or no?
Yeah, you're coming back. Hold on. Say something else.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. No.
Okay,
Still jarbled.
so now
I messed up
what
the
I'm seeing,
stream.
I don't know if anyone else in the stream is seeing this. What StreamYard is showing me is there is now like an almost full second delay between your video and your audio. So your video is well ahead of your
Okay.
audio. So hopefully that all just kind of resyncs and kind of recovers. But the face
I'm
zooming
hoping,
just got way
I
better. So like you moved and it went zook,
okay.
and it was like way more dynamic than what we've seen. So it's pretty great.
Oh, hey, it's following me.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. It's doing the
No, I
framing
think
correctly.
mine's kind of at its limit. So I'm not as
Yeah.
not as mobile as you are. I'm on a
Video. Oh,
tighter
you
lens
lag.
than I
Okay. Way to
usually
go.
use, so I can't
Way to go,
move
Way to go,
quite as
TK,
much.
messing it up. Okay, hold on. Let me see here.
Oh,
Audio.
you just popped for me. It looks like you're better back. So anyway, we should
Yeah.
probably just start wrapping this up too, because like especially with the end of the Qualcomm event there, you probably have some other things that you want to get to.
There's a few more
It's
videos
been
I got to push out today and hopefully tomorrow and Monday.
I mean, we made it through Techtober. I'm still
Mhm.
behind on finishing videos from Techtober, and it seems
Yeah.
like just rolling right into the end of the year. These companies are keeping the pressure on. I mean, Android
Yeah.
13 updates just hit all of my BBK branded phones. I shouldn't say branded, BBK built phones.
I was
One
gonna say, yeah.
Pluses and iQOOs are now rocking Android 13. I've got to follow up on that. I'm still on Sony Watch. My Xperia has not gotten Android 13 yet. And I've got a couple sponsored videos that I can't talk about, but my next e-bike video I'm hoping to have out after Thanksgiving. I mean, it's just a lot. A lot is happening, which is pretty exciting.
No, and similar for me. I do have one sponsor video. Hopefully, will go up either Tuesday or Wednesday next week. The overall, like I want to kind of like summarize everything that I've gone through here at the summit. So I'm going to be putting out that video hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there is, I'll say this: we're going to have a lot more specific conversations of why the 8 Gen 1 or the 8 Gen 2's performance is good at sometime early next
Okay.
week. And so
Good.
that conversation, hopefully, so not that I don't want to, is just as I kind of hinted at the beginning, I can't really talk about that yet. I'm excited to say that this entire stream, although we had a little bit of an audio thing, I was able to bring the battery down to 51% on the surface that we were
Wait a
running
minute.
on
You were
5G.
fully charged at the top of this?
I was fully charged, like 98, not like super
Yeah, but I mean,
100.
topped off. Reasonably, you would
But
leave the door
basically,
saying you were fully topped off.
absolutely. So if I was to take this and walk outside, where again the battery for me, not using video, but it was mostly just being on, connectivity on and off there, lasted me about a day and a half. This one, about an hour and 15-minute live
Well,
stream will tax
before
the
we were
system. Let's say that.
broadcasting, we were almost at what, like an hour 20? Because we jumped on about 5 minutes
Oh
before
yeah, we
broadcast.
did.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
pretty good. An hour
it's pretty
20
decent
all on battery on 5G.
on 5G, and I'm not. It's only 50%, and I know I can go all the way the rest of the day without having to charge it. So, with that being said, I will say this: there's a lot of things, a lot of conversation happened this week. Last week we had more conversations. There's going to be more coming up because we're now going to start seeing hopefully the OEMs jumping in, start announcing. Because I'm pretty sure Xiaomi's going to jump in somewhere and say we're releasing the first one and
And
it's available in China tomorrow, type of
yeah,
a thing.
you're
Yeah,
like,
every year.
but we had our 2023 phone out in December of 2022. We're
22.
Xiaomi.
Yeah, no, and I just my thing is I want to start seeing how will it be managed, how will it be implemented, what are the cooling, the solutions, the optimizations done. There's a lot of things that we see in this device. The improvements that we see are definitely great. We have 64-bit and 32-bit support, somewhat, and depending on the architecture that you're looking in, it's not truly full 64 yet.
That's
So
the big fight for me. Is
yeah,
it gonna
it's like
be? Is it gonna
you're
matter
leaving one
what
toe in the yeah, you're leaving literally like a
right?
toe in the pool just to kind of like it's just so the end of the day what we're looking at is an exciting experience. Tensor is basically it gets better every time we get an update to it. Qualcomm definitely jumping in head first, as well as MediaTek this time. It's a little bit of a race, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see how this is going to be benefiting us as users. Ray tracing,
For
the last
sure.
thing I did want to kind of touch base on. My
Yeah.
exciting part was to see a confirmation from Oppo that they were going to try to focus on the 720p 60 frames per second resolution gameplay for an extended amount of time with ray tracing. And that was for me was a big statement that I didn't hear last week from MediaTek of what
Yeah.
is the frame rate, what are you trying to do, what can you guarantee, and that's good. I'm not expecting ray tracing to run at 120 yet. This is again we see that on the PC side. So,
Right.
long story short. Um, this week again we're doing this. Hopefully, we'll find an understanding for next week. Because again, next week I think you're going to be. I don't. Well, we'll have to see. I'm hoping I'll back
Yeah.
home. I'll see that.
We've
We'll have to
got
figure
some
out.
family obligations. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's
But
the
it might
holiday
be
time.
another
We switch.
location shoot.
Yeah.
Black Friday! Hooray!
Hey. But yeah, so with that being said, I want to say thank you to everybody for hanging out with us and taking time of your Friday. I keep wanting to say Saturday of your Friday with us. A lot of conversations going on. I typically
Yeah.
would have said we'll talk with you guys on Twitter, but I mean, okay,
Maybe.
you could.
I'm still
Yeah,
there.
maybe. I
It's
don't know.
it's
I'm
it's
there.
collapsing all around me, but while we still have it, we can point you over to Mastodon. So I'm at
Absolutely.
some
And
gadget guy on Mastodon, and let's make an Android community there
let's
flourish.
build it there. Yeah. No, and at
Yeah,
least keep conversations going. So
for sure.
hopefully next week will be a better week. Make sure to check out Juan on his show on Monday for the SCTQA, and of course, we'll try to have another stream for you guys. We will figure out the timing on that. That would
We'll
be my
figure it
only
out.
thing. We'll figure
We'll
out the
let you
timing.
know.
We'll let you know. Yeah. So With that being said, from Maui, although it doesn't look
And
like
from
it,
sunny Southern California.
it does look like it. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't. Yeah, yeah. We'll see you guys next week for the best of our week and the Android Bay. I don't know how to end this one, but thank you very
Happy
much.
holidays. Goodbye.
Happy holidays. Take care, everybody.